Woman determined to rise. Good afternoon to one and all present here and all those watching us live on YouTube. I am Simran Mehta, the president of the Entrepreneurship Cell of Aryabhatta College. Wishing you all a very happy Women's Day. To celebrate this special day, ESL Aryabhatta welcomes you all to this session. Today, we will be having a panel discussion about women empowerment and entrepreneurship with Ms. Akanksha Gupta, co-founder of Urvann, Ms. Ridhima Arora, founder of Namhya Foods, Ms. Anushree Maloo, and Ms. Ananya Maloo, founders of Urvann. A very warm welcome to all the panelists. It is our pleasure to host this event with you all. I'd like to thank our head convener, Dr. Monica Agarwal, and co-conveners, Dr. Shivani Raheja and Dr. Ruchi Sharma, who have given us constant support without which this event could not have been possible. I would also like to show my appreciation to a noteworthy principal, Sir, Professor Manoj Sinha, whose support and encouragement has made it possible for us to hold this session effectively. Before we begin, I'd like to invite Honourable Principal, Sir, Professor Manoj Sinha, to say a few words.
Thank you, Simran. My pleasure to be here first in the ESL event. A very good afternoon to my colleagues, Dr. Monica Agrawal, Shivani Raheja, and all the others, Ruchi Sharma also, and others who have taken initiative today on Women's Day to organize an event which is in tune with your own principles of encouraging entrepreneurship, as well as in tune with the Women's Day. It's been a pleasure, and my greetings to all the ladies present here in this event. If I may, I have this urge to call them girls because most of them are students, children for us, but the whole lot of you. It's a congratulatory note from me to you. And I noticed that either by chance or by design, all the speakers are also women today. And I find that very interesting because there is a lot of entrepreneurship in them that one can see from the brief that I have been given about Ms. Ridhima Arora, about Akanksha Gupta, and so about Ananya Maloo and Anushree Maloo. All of you have done well for yourselves, and I'm sure your interaction, your mutual discussion here on this platform of Aryabhatta College will encourage many of our students to do well. So as head of the institution, I welcome all of you, a very warm welcome. I extend a very warm welcome on behalf of my college to this platform of the Aryabhatta College. Hope to see you soon physically here. I mean, we have just started physically, and I'm sure my students will be encouraged to call you very soon, sooner than later. This they must have planned already. And have a very good afternoon, all of you, and a very nice discussion. And whatever comes out will be treasured by the college as an institution. Thank you so much, and all the best for today. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Now I would like to hand it over to Rashi to begin with the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rashi, an associate member at ESL Aryabhatta. I will be the moderator for this session. And now I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists to everyone. Our first panelist, Ms. Ridhima Arora, is the founder of Namhya Foods. She was a contestant in Shark Tank India, and her venture has been funded by Mr. Aman Gupta. She previously worked in the corporate sector for about 4.5 years in branding and marketing in the tech space. She is an electronics and communication engineer by degree, but a marketer by heart. Being a health enthusiast, a trained yoga instructor, she built her health startup, Namhya Foods, to provide interesting combinations of Ayurvedic foods that blend with the modern day living. Her professional journey involves having worked as a senior marketing manager at both Lava from 2015 to 18 and Automate International from 2018 to 19. We welcome you, ma'am. It is an honor having you here with us today. Our next panelist.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next panelist is Ms. Akanksha Gupta, the co-founder of Urvann. Urvann is a startup in the niche of plants and gardening. It aims to deliver greenery at the doorstep. Urvann's mission is to bring people closer to nature and make this world a greener place to live in. She has worked as a senior consultant at Deloitte and a graduate associate at EXL. During her tenure, she helped Fortune 500 companies design their business strategy and operating model. We welcome you, ma'am. It is a pleasure having you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Finally, we have Ms. Ananya Maloo and Ms. Anushree Maloo, the founder of Nuutjob, a male's intimate hygiene brand. Having secured rupees 25 lakh on Shark Tank, they aim to break the taboo around male intimate hygiene. Ms. Anushree acquired a postgraduate diploma in marketing and has worked as a travel agent in Unicorn Travels for about 3 years. Ms. Ananya did her post-graduation in mass communication and has worked as a marketing executive at PVR Pictures. We welcome you, ma'am. It is an honor having you both with us here today. Now, without further delay, let us move with our discussion. My first question to the panelists for today is, what gender-specific challenges, stereotypes, or barriers have you had to overcome during your career? Ms. Ridhima, ma'am, what are your views on this?
Honestly, had like a lot of gender-based biases as also because I think if I'm getting your question right?
Sorry, ma'am, your internet is slightly.
Rashi, can you repeat your question in once?
What gender-specific challenges, stereotypes, or barriers have you had to overcome during your career? Am I audible, ma'am?
Okay, I'll. Can you hear me, or I'll shut my video and then talk. You're audible. Just
Yes.
1 second.
Yes, we can.
Is this better? Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll do this thing. I think in my last 3 years of working myself, I don't think I had a lot of issues from a gender perspective, and I am telling you not because because of an incident or because of a circumstance. I'm telling you this basically out of only my sheer understanding of and sheer understanding of how I look at things. Can you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, great. Anybody who cannot listen to me, just put a in-call message. At least I'll know somebody can listen to me or not. Okay. I don't look at things from a perspective of gender usually. I have a frame of, I have a way of looking at things where I usually don't give a lot of importance to things like gender. I also believe in the fact that the plant grows where you water the most, and I usually don't like watering this thought that I am of a certain gender. Does it exist in the business? The answer to this is, does it exist in your family? Does it exist in your society? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I think that the gender biasness or the roots to the lot to do with what we experience at home, what we experience in the society. A girl is probably expected to get married by 25, 26. Probably a boy is not expected to do so, right? A girl is expected to sort of. I think gender biases are a lot to do with the society. It's a function of how the society operates and less to do with business. But yes, when we do end up going outside seeking for funding and stuff like that, I have had an experience where people have come back to me and told me that you're a single founder and you are at a marriageable age. What if you marry to somebody and completely leave your work? What if you have a child tomorrow and probably you don't have enough time to scale up your company. So those questions have been asked, of course. But I still would love to believe that it's not something that you should only think about. But having said that, I mean, it's just about whether it affects you or not. It does not affect me irrespective. So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very inspiring. Akanksha, ma'am, would you like to add to this?
Yes, so I think very aptly put by Ridhima that it is a lot on what we focus on. Luckily for me, I've worked with two very progressive organizations, both EXL and Deloitte, where I don't think most of my colleagues would ever feel that or we were kind of weighed or looked at as female versus male workers, or not from our probably the ones from our superiors as well as from our peers. We were all looked at as people who are working and part of those organizations. So I would say I have been lucky that ways. But at the same time, as again Ridhima pointed out, that a lot of things actually begin in the society or are there in the society, which kind of could have an impact, or kind of has impact on the kind of career choices women are able to make. So so for example, I come from a family where most of the women, my mom, my sister, my in-laws, they have all they've been I would say homemakers primarily, right? So that is why it was a little difficult for my parents to kind of absorb the fact that that is not something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to have a career of my own. So I think these are, and why am I saying that? Because I also want to say this thing, or let everyone who's listening to this know that any such bias that comes from your family, that comes from the people you're working with, is really is just something to be looked at, is not to be looked at as a hurdle. It's a very very small thing in comparison to the kind of passion that you have in yourself. So I think it's very important for all of us, who are building a career, who are building businesses, that we don't focus on these aspects, but rather focus on what we want to achieve. And then every such thing would look very small, and like not something that we should even be kind of worried about.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ananya, ma'am, what would you like to say for this?
I think really great points by both Akanksha and Ridhima about it. So Anushree and I have started a company that wasn't quite expected of girls to venture into. It caters to male intimate hygiene. So definitely a lot of gender disparity that happened around that area. I think starting off with people questioning, you don't even have the part, why are you starting a company like this? What's the expertise that you bring to the table? So to which Anushree and I very usually say that it took two vaginas to change the ball game, because nobody was really catering to quite out there problems, so much so that while we were doing our research, we realized that you know it's so common and it's so normalized in a way that when you go out, men scratching their balls is not something that you question, but somebody like a woman adjusting a brass strap, or somebody just adjusting your clothes in a certain way raises a lot of grabs a lot of eyeballs or raises a lot of questions. Clearly addresses a disparity on how the audience, especially outside, uh, see men and women out there in the public. So definitely saw a lot of gender disparity there. Especially two women catering to male intimate hygiene was something that a lot of people questioned us about, so much so that we had relatives who said that you shouldn't go ahead and do something like this, because Anushri and I come from a Marwadi family to begin with, so there are lots of things that I don't want to stereotype things, but sometimes we were at a marriageable age when we started the company, and to have seen people question what we thought would make a really good product in the Indian market, think I was really stupid, and maybe wow, there would have been a reason why a lot of people didn't venture in it. But I think Anushree and I, being women, being rebels with thoughts, stuck to the thought that no, we want to bring about a difference. There's so much that women can do, and so much that women are asked not to do because they're women, and we wanted to shun that. And I'm so glad that we didn't pay heed to the naysayers and kept on doing what we had to, because it takes confidence and guts. I'd rather say it takes balls for women to bring about a change, and I'm so glad to have started a conversation around it through Nuutjob. And I don't know. I think because Anushree and I are sisters, there's an innate understanding that what you bring to the table. There's a certain confidence that she won't leave me anywhere, or would have a similar thought process as well. So quite thankful to that. And I come from a family that has always celebrated women. Yes, we come from a Marwari household, but I mean, we've all, there's a majority of women in the household, and they've always celebrated what we do. So, quite thankful to the privilege that Anushree and I had through our family support to have vested that trust in us to go ahead and do this. But I think there's a certain gender issue when it comes to when you start off. So I think it's an only initial breakthrough that you need to make, which I guess we made through Shark Tank. But once people see what you really aim for it, they put in more trust in what the brand is. So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very inspiring. Anushree, ma'am, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, exactly. We have gone through the same things, like people coming and telling us why, like, you're gonna waste your time, you're gonna waste your money after this, because we both funded this startup with our own money, like we saved through our salaries and everything. So, initially people were saying that, plus our male friends that we wanted to talk about that, would you like to use a product like this or something? They were like, they were embarrassed to talk, they were not ready to talk about this thing. So all the openness, it took us time to overcome that now people are okay to talk about this thing, and having a conversation about this thing. But so glad to bring about a change that we get to.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So my next question for the day is, in your career, who would you say has been your support and has inspired you on your career path? Ridhima, ma'am, would you like to add to this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry for the network issue, but I think I would definitely. I'm assuming I'm audible. I
Yes, you
think for me, it's always been my mom. We grow up learning and understanding that mom's or mother's love is unconditional. But I have seen through things, I've seen through situations, I've seen through very low moments of my life where even if there was none standing there, it was always my mom who did that. So I think, of course, everybody has somebody or the other who's there, but I think my mom has been there on occasions where I really didn't have anybody. So I think, yeah, for me, it was my mom.
That's wonderful to know. Akanksha, ma'am, what about you?
So, for me, my biggest support in my career, and especially now that we are building Urvann, is my co-founder and my husband, Sambhav. So, I think personally and professionally, when we are working, and this is not for women working or men working, we obviously need support in the family, and I think he's the one who's been supporting me in every way he can. However, I also believe, and this is something that probably people who are listening in, that we all need support to grow. But we or it should always, or it always also depends on the fire that you have within yourself, right? So like the support systems help us grow, but it is us who have to keep moving on that path, that, or towards our goals. So this is very important, that we focus less on the kind of support that we are deriving from outside, because when we do that, then we have also people to blame, when we don't achieve something. So I think it is important that we are more focused on our goals, and the path that we build for ourselves to achieve those goals. And then the support would come from everyone around you, when they see that you are moving forward irrespective of what may be coming on your way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ananya, ma'am, what about you?
I think for me, a major a big thank you goes to my father because had it not been for him, I don't think I would have reached where I am today. So a lot of it goes to him, but also to the women in my family. I'd like to mention that Anushree and I come from a very privileged family in the sense of how they've brought us up in terms of values, that they didn't pull us down or say that women aren't allowed to do something like this. So absolutely thankful to my grandmother and my mother, and the other women in my family who fought for things that would make things easy for me right now. So absolutely thankful to them. But I think from the journey that I'm going through, the entrepreneurial journey, I think I am super thankful to my father.
Thank
Same, I would say, same that the family support we got, like both of us, that they believed in us, and they were so proud of us that we went to a platform like this, Shark Tank India. And so yeah, family, you cannot do anything without the family support. If they don't believe, if they don't get your back, then I don't know, you can't do anything.
Thank you so much, ma'am. My next question is, how did you navigate power structures early in your career versus later when you had a more formal leadership role? I'll start with Ridhima, ma'am. What would you like to say?
I'm so sorry, you'll have to repeat the question once.
Yeah, yeah. How did you navigate power structures early in your career versus later when you had a more formal leadership role?
Honestly, I think we are still in the early stage. There's no later as such. I think one good visibility on a national television really does a lot of things to you. Of course, it's a good visibility. People are talking about us, but these are things that are very short-lived, and I think we are still in the early stages. And I think ever since I started, and this wasn't something that I had planned. This was something that happened very gradually on the way. But I also evolved a lot with my startup. When I started, I wasn't that mature. I didn't know how to handle a lot of situations. But then things happened. I also have an employee who's 54. I also have an employee who's 48. Now, these are guys who are 20, 30 years older to me, and it becomes hard. But I think it's your own evolution that keeps you on the ground, that keeps you upgrading yourself in the way you need to talk to people. My own emotional quotient, my EQ has really gone up with this startup. So I think you evolve. And have we made it as yet, or is it just a start? I think it's just a start. I'm also learning, and I think you keep learning on the process of it. Uh, but yes, personally, I think my personal maturity or my expanded EQ, which has again happened over a period of time, has helped me sort of, deal with situations.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Akanksha, ma'am, what about you?
So I would like to break it into two parts. The first, where probably I was part of an organization. Both in at EXL and Deloitte, as I said, that it was a very inclusive. They are both inclusive organizations, and I think if like in such organizations or in any organization, if you're working, what is important is everyone should focus on their work. And I think this is the kind of mantra I've lived by, that focus on your work, make your presence felt. And then anyone who's making any sort of let's say performance reviews and anything, then any sort of bias in terms of gender would not be able to flow in, right? So your work should speak for yourself. And I think this is what I felt in the earlier part of the career. Now, as we are building Urban, the I think the thing that we focused on is that, you know, we do not distinguish between, or we do not consider anyone's gender, any other, in fact, criteria in any decision that we take. And I think that is where true equality and empowerment begins, when you are not, overvalued or undervalued because you come from a specific gender. And I think this is something that we're trying to build into Urban's culture right from day one. Right from recruitment to performance reviews to working together to, how meetings are held. We are conscious that, no one feels that they are not being heard, or they are not being valued enough because they are part of a particular group, gender, or anything like that. So I think this is really important as a business leaders, for everyone to follow. I don't think anyone wants special treatment because they are women. So it's equal treatment is, I think, we what we all want and what we all desire.
That's absolutely right, ma'am. Ananya, ma'am, and Anushree, ma'am, what would you like to say?
So yeah, even we are at a very early stage. We still building a team and getting things together. Like we are still learning how daily operations work, how financials work, how logistics, everything. So Ananya, so before Shark Tank, Ananya and I were the only people working at Nuutjob. Like we were the from Pune to co-founders. We were doing everything, and now for Shark Tank, we are building a team together. We are a team of 5 for now, but still it's very early stage for us to decide a path, or have, like, we have thought that where we want to make this company reach, but it's still
yeah, we're still figuring it out.
out.
We're still, I mean, we're taking each day at a time. But what we realized is that a team is very important, so that you can tell your story nicely. Because Anushri and I would have, you know, sort of similar set of ideas, but to have a team, they bring freshness to what you have. There's a lot of layers that they also give to a company. So I think that's very important to once you're an entrepreneur. Also because I know Anushree, and I feel that Anushree and are each other's yin and yang. So what she gets to the table is quite different from what I get, and dividing what you know is really important, because there are two founders in the company. So it's very important that you know what you're good at and you don't meddle into others' expertise. Like Anushree knows this is what Ananya can handle, so she lets me do it without a lot of meddling. But there's a lot of discussion also that keeps on happening at the same time, because that's very important to do. Because the moment that she doesn't know what's going on in my department and I don't know what's going on in hers, there'll be a lot of communication gap that will lead to problems later on. So obviously, to have that conversation daily, to know what's happening in each other's lives, but to know that she knows best of how to do her thing and I know best how to do my thing, that's very important. But never, never, never undermine or overestimate what you bring to the table. Discussions help you grow. So I think that's very important. And not just us as founders, but also what our team gets to the table. There's so many things that they have thought of we could do differently, package things differently, and we're like, oh my god, we never thought of such a small thing. So it's very nice to obviously have an open dialogue, and to have not just with people at your power level. I wouldn't say power level, but at your working level, but everybody in the company, to have them involved, just like Akanksha said, to have everybody involved, similar to what she's seen at Deloitte. So that is something I'd really like to have in my company going forward: inclusivity, and obviously have the opportunity to have an open dialogue.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So my next question is, what benefits have you received from your leadership experiences? I'd like to address this question to Ridhima ma'am first.
Um, I mean, of course, there is. I think benefits. I don't know if that's the right word to use. In my context, at least, I think Um, I with the startup or with whatever I've done in the last 30 years, um, it has usually been that I had to take up that role just because I felt or I thought that I could do it better, or just because I felt that I was connected enough, or just because I felt that it was my duty to do, right? And if that means coming to a leadership position, be it that. um but yeah, I've usually done it from the front because I just felt I could do it better, and I've always given chances to my team in terms of कि यार अगर तुम्हें ज़्यादा अच्छे से आता है तो तुम कर लो. I've been very like, who can do a particular job the best. If I am in the room who can do it the best, then let me do it. If you are the one who can do it, then you might as well do it. But I think just because of people inviting us, and for all the temporary fame that we are receiving right now, one good part that has happened is that internally in the team we would have a lot of debates about everything. I took the lead on it, so I think there's more trust internally in the team that happened. And I would probably call it a benefit of the leadership that I took. But yes, internally, I think things are far more swift now in terms of decision making, because now there is this core trust. Ki, you do it better, so you might as well do it. So I think that's the only thing as a benefit that I can recall right now.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Akanksha, ma'am, what are your views on this?
So I think as we graduate from a role where we are part of a team to where we are kind of building a team, one of the things that comes within is the fact that we are able to design a lot of things that earlier we were just taking. So for example, if I was living a particular culture in Deloitte that was already built, but at Urvann, I am, fortunate enough to be able to build that culture, and this is this gives me the power or the ability to start with, that I can build a culture which treats everyone equally, which is inclusive enough, which gives everyone equal opportunities, which doesn't take into account any sort of differences in terms of gender, religion, etc. And I think that's I think probably the best part about being able to start up or to lead a team, because when you do all of this, and if let's take, so if we are in very early days, right? But if we are able to build a good culture, and we are able to convince just one more person to to be inspired by us and build that culture when they move into any other organization, or when they start their own organization, I think that will be the biggest winning moment for us. So I think this is the biggest benefit of being in a leadership position. I feel that a lot of things can, like, you can set a lot of those examples that people might want to learn from. So which is a great advantage, and obviously there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it as well.
Absolutely, ma'am. Ananya, ma'am, and Anushree, ma'am, what would you like to add to this?
I absolutely agree with what Akanksha just said. So there's a Spider-Man dialogue that goes, with great power comes great responsibility. So there's a lot, I think, that rests on our shoulder, especially I feel with the segment that we've entered. And there's a certain example that we're setting for a lot of women to maybe not go the, stereotypical way, take chances and question things. I think there's a great responsibility that comes with it. So obviously, to live up to them is something that's going to be a task for Anushree and I when we come at a when we're at a leadership position like that. But there's so much that we need to learn. There's so much. I think that is my sister. She says, you need to be woke now. There's so much that you need to know about. Not just gender, but also things that are going on, and you need to have. You need to sensitize your audience around it. Not everybody's like what you think. So there's a lot of activity and a lot of education that's going to go in, and I feel really responsible for the message that I get to put out there through Nuutjob, and to maybe just set an example for you know people who said that they felt that Anushree and I took the leap and did something as crazy as Nuutjob. The name itself means crazy, so I think there's a lot that goes in, and we're learning with each day at a time. But we really do hope to live by the expectations that people have from us, and so much so that there were people who told us, we really want our daughters and we want our sisters, or whoever, to be like you, to not to question things and to do things differently. And I think that's a very big thing that they've expected of us. But yeah, I really hope that Anushree and I get to live by it and bring about a change. Cater to change through whatever that we're doing.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. That was very inspiring. My next question is, there are some domains which have been male dominated for a long time. What advice would you like to share with young women entering such male dominated professions? Ridhima, ma'am.
So I'll quickly give my experience of what it felt, how was it, and how did I come out of it, because I sort of experienced it firsthand. So 2019 November is when we launched our first product. It was like a very early stage of the startup, and we're just launching stuff, not really for the purpose of selling it, but the how you do pilot runs basically. And with the conventional mindset that I came from, I felt that this is an FMCG brand, and FMCG doesn't sell too much online. Of course, the whole D2C wave sort of came only in 2020, and I wasn't looking at it not from a retail perspective. So I entered retail, and to the extent that I remember going from shop to shop, like the bigger shops in the mohalla, right? Those shops where we felt that the product could sell. And what I realized is that women are really looked down upon, especially in the retail. And I'm talking about retail and the retail in tier 2, which is Jammu. Right, so things weren't really welcoming, as I'd put it. And for the first instance, I was very disheartened because I didn't know any better. Also, I felt that in our business, volumes come from retail. Good visibility comes from retail. It's a new category that we are trying to create, right? So it all meant that it should have been in retail. And when I wasn't really welcomed well, I felt really disheartened that how will we do it now? And online meant like an extra leg or an extra source of income. It didn't look like a business that time, at least to me. Um, and the idea was that I couldn't crack it, but there had to be a way out. And we figured it out. I went online. I went online very aggressively, to the extent that even today my 75% of sales happen online. So I think people figure out a way. There is of course a gender bias there, right? There is also about male domination there, but there's also something called what I can do as a personality. Initially, your business is actually you, and there's nobody else. So it boiled down to a lot about what is the kind of person I am, and what is it that I'm comfortable with, what is it that I'm not comfortable with. And I realized that there's a way of working that suits me best, and I would not try and break my head in an area where I don't think I'm very good at. Let's say, reasons could be 100. It could be male dominating. It could be something that I was not comfortable doing, or I was not ready for giving so much of credit so early on in my business. Whatever the reason could be, but the idea is that something that doesn't go very well with your personality, at least initially, in the business, you try and figure out the alternate method to it. And I think that's what I did. I went online and I went very aggressively. But to answer your question, I think just just figure out a way that suits your personality, or that just evens out whatever biases are there in the society.
Thank you, ma'am. Akanksha, ma'am, what are your views?
So, I think, and not only for this, but I might have said this a couple of times that it is very important to have a right focus, right? So, even if you are in an industry, even if you are in a company where the gender ratio is probably you feel is not favorable enough, or when you're sitting in a board meeting, everyone apart from you is whichever gender. I think what is important for anyone in an industry like this, or who are already planning to build a career in an industry like this, is just focus on your work, focus on what brings you to your what you're trying to bring to the table, voice your opinions, tell people about what you think, how you can contribute to things. And I think focus less on the fact that this is how the gender ratio here is, etc. And when we do that, it ensures that our career, or our basically stint in that organization is then focused on these aspects rather than aspects like gender equality. And I think this is very important. So for example, we feel that tech is a male dominated industry, for example, right? And then we also have examples like Miss Arundhati, who's leading Salesforce. And then we think entrepreneurship is male dominated. And then we have example of Ms. Falguni, who takes Nika public. So it is important to kind of keep working towards your goal, be confident about what you can achieve, and focus not too much on, worry not too much about the kind of gender ratio, because it may be hard to kind of digest, but it will take, as a society, we will take a time to improve those gender ratios. So that should, however, never come into your way. You should just keep working towards your goals, and everything else will start falling in place.
Thank you, ma'am. Anushree, ma'am, and Ananya, ma'am, what would you like to say?
So to begin with, we're in a very uncharted territory as a segment that we try to make a difference to. But I feel as women, there's so much that is not expected of you. They like sometimes people feel that you're bound to fail. Especially sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't know finances. I don't know how to take ahead a company." There's so much expectation. Again, I think. There was a mention when people ask Ridhima also mentioned that once you're married, you have kids, how is it that you're going to lead a company like this, because that's going to be a division of attention as well. I feel when you're in a position like this, when in doubt, shout, call for help. So there's I'm being very filmy over here. There's a dialogue in Harry Potter where Dumbledore says that help will be provided to those who ask, and if you do not have that ego, please ask for help. Be it any woman out there or man, but I mean, don't think that you're a woman and you need to take everything on yourself so that you need to prove it to somebody. Do what you can at your best. And I feel that women can do whatever that they set their minds to. Look, I feel that Anushree and I would try to implement that in our lives, and that's nothing that we think that we can't do, but never have that ego that I can do everything, especially when you're leading a company. So definitely don't feel I would say don't take it on yourself if you're not able to do a lot of things. Uh, Please ask for help. If you feel that running your company requires attention, please ask somebody to take care of the family, of other different needs that are needed. But obviously, be there. There should be a certain balance. You see which side of the seesaw is a little heavy for you. If work's a little more important, then you find somebody who respects that and celebrates that with you. So I think that's very important. And to find people like that is going to be a difficult task, but keep trying.
Yes, ma'am. Anushree, ma'am, would you like to say anything?
I would like to say that it takes us now, because we are in this category. I think Ananya and I have to deal with like questions or something that, why did you choose such category, or, why you, like, we know we were working at very different fields, and we came together and started like this venture and this startup. So I think um we don't I don't yeah, as Ananya said, like, you two females had to start something like this. So I don't think so there's a male dominant in our category. But
We're bringing about
change. Yeah, we trying to bring up change. And we now I think Ananya and I are open to talk about, with our parents, with our grandparents, with our friends, about, certain things, like, it was still a taboo for us, or it was still, we were not so open to talk about something like this. And I think now things have changed, and the society is taking things and looking at things differently. And that is what Ananya and I have personally experienced after Shark Tank India. That now people take us seriously. Now people are, they want to talk about this thing, this male intimate hygiene category. They want to have a discussion about this. So I think now it has been a progressive change for us.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. My next question is, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you first started out? Ridhima, ma'am, we'll start with you.
Very good question, actually. Um, I think, although I'm somebody who never wants to change anything, I like the way how you think in a certain moment and you go with the flow. I'm somebody who's very go with the flow. But if I had to change something, I think I should have doubted myself less. I really doubted myself to the extent saying that, "Arey, मैं Ayurveda से नहीं हूँ. How will I do it? What if something happens for worse? Or there are things. And what if it doesn't run?" So I had given myself like 2 years to experiment, and I said, okay, if in 2 years I can't do anything, I'm going to move out of it. Um, Also, I feel that because I doubted myself so much, I delayed the process of whatever progress we had to make. Of course, we had a pandemic going on when we just began, and all of that was there. But I feel that we could have done far better. But just because I had my own doubts killing my progress, I just delayed the whole process. But I understand there is a beauty to it and all of that. But yeah, I mean, uh, just because you've asked it, I think my answer would be that I would have doubted myself less, and I would have just been extremely consistent on whatever I was doing.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Akanksha, ma'am, what about you?
So I think very similar to what Ridhima said. I think even I believe that we sometimes seek a lot of validation of what we are doing from outside, and that kind of starts impacting our decisions. Would people like this sort of decision? And then you kind of start doubting your own decisions, or your plans. So I think if I, like, standing here, I feel that if I had sought lesser validation, I would have started up earlier. And this is something I would say I would have really done differently. I would have taken my career decisions faster. And I think that's about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ananya, ma'am, and Anushree, ma'am, what about you?
So for me, now that I've come to a stage like this, I believe that there are only choices in life, and there are no regrets that you need to have over it. The moment that you start fretting over the littlest of things, then you become stagnant and you do not grow. So think of it as life only has choices. There are no good or bad. I mean, there are good and bad choices, but there are no right and wrong choices. But through those choices, you learn and you grow. So that those are really important. The moment that you start and stop, you know, thinking about what I've done wrong and regretting, just stagnate your growth. So I think that's really important to stop thinking of life as certain regrets that you've had, but think of it as choices that you'll have. So whatever choice you make is where you lead on to be.
I think for a person like me, I would, I would like to work out of my comfort zone. I think I would perform better there rather than in my comfort zones. I think that is how I function. That I put a boundary that this is not, So I really want to would like to change that I want to work out of my comfort zone.
I'm extremely sorry, I lost my connection. Okay, thank you, ma'am. I will now move to the next question. What do you feel are the benefits or the drawbacks of being a female entrepreneur in 2022? I'll start with Ridhima, ma'am.
Okay, so because my network has been poor since ever, the question is that what are the negatives of being a female entrepreneur, right?
No, benefits and the drawbacks of being
Okay. I think benefits are many. You get to attend webinars like this. You also get to celebrate a Women's Day, which I'm really sad, but men don't, where they had intensity these days. So I'm sure, I think that's the benefit. I think um, I don't know if there are any benefits to being a women entrepreneur or being a male entrepreneur for that matter. Of course, there are some disadvantages that I said in the beginning itself that these are disadvantages that are coming out of uh, us just being raised in this society in a certain way, and it has got nothing to do with entrepreneurship. I was listening to the whole conversation, and yes, some people will look at you with a lot of doubt when it comes to numbers, when it comes to uh, the mathematics of it or the accounts of it. People generally don't want to rely on women, but you look at the number of women CAs today. You look at the number of maths honors who- which have been done by women. So I think there are, of course, there are these very deep-rooted biases that there are. But if you ask me, and if you really ask me this question, I will give a very blunt answer saying that I don't think there are any benefits or any disadvantages of being a women entrepreneur. Honestly, when I began, which was 2.5 years back, I actually liked the whole idea that there are that being a women entrepreneur felt like a blue like a blue ocean. Like there was no competition. And I'm so glad there are such young entrepreneurs who are coming up now, and there is this talk about women entrepreneurs. I think whole conversation that I started will definitely. I mean, you look at you guys. I mean, you're listening to us. I'm sure a lot of you guys want to be entrepreneurs or want to stand out in the society and be somebody beyond managing the families. So I think those things are like, I feel it's the beauty of 2022. But other than that, I personally don't think there are any advantages or disadvantages of being a women entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Akanksha, ma'am, what would you like?
So, for me, I would say disadvantages, there are none. I would say that, there are only advantages. And the good thing is that, at least, maybe it might just be because I only see myself, or I'm taking only this stint at Urvann as an example. But I don't think that it also varies by the fact that, you're a man or a woman. I think entrepreneurship in itself has a lot of advantages because you can solve what problems really matter to you. You can solve them in the way that you want, and in the process you can inspire people. So I think there are a lot of advantages of entrepreneurship, and then there is this benefit of being in 2022, that you don't have to think ki, what special benefit or what disadvantage comes with the fact of being a woman entrepreneur. I think the opportunities now are immense, to be able to have access to a lot of let's say funds, talent, everything. I think the kind of access that women have is equal to men, as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. And if for everyone out there who's listening, I would say that in terms of entrepreneurship, if you have any idea, if you are experiencing any problem and you have a solution to it, don't think twice. Definitely give your idea or your solution a try. Take this up. It's an immense learning, and there are only advantages of doing it. Even if it's a successful, or even if it's a failed startup, the learning you'll have, the growth you'll have as a professional, as an individual, is immense. And hence I'll say only good things about being an entrepreneur and being a female entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's wonderful. Ananya ma'am and Anushree ma'am, what would you like to?
I think for me, the one thing that is both an advantage and a disadvantage, benefit and not, is there are no off days. You need to keep working, you need to keep hustling. And yeah, the moment that you don't hustle, the moment that things become so mundane, you're not growing. So I think there's a good and there's a bad. So when I was working with companies, maybe I was looking forward to Saturdays and Sundays, but now that I'm working on my own idea, there are no Saturdays and Sundays. You keep working. And Anushree is now married, so she's moved to uh, a different house. But before that, I think I used to bug her at 2 o'clock, like, listen, let's do this. You like, there's no off timings. You can work all the time. And I think the moment that you're obsessed with your business, there's so much that you want to keep doing. There's so much that you want to keep growing, and I think that's very important. The moment that if you're in love with your idea and if you love what you do, I think you look forward to coming to office every day, and you do like, "Arey, kya sona hai? We chalo kaam karte, let's do this." So that's when you know that what you're doing is something that you love and you're bringing about a difference. So yeah, I think that's that for me.
And I think there's no gender bias to address a problem and coming up with a solution. Like, the problem we came up was not our problem, but we saw it at our place, and that is how we came up with this thing. And I think the disadvantage earlier is a benefit for us, that, earlier people didn't want to talk about this thing, but now people are ready to and open to talk about this category and about this topic. So I think it was a disadvantage for us earlier, but now it is working in our favor, that people are appreciating the education, the information we are trying to give out.
That's great, ma'am. Okay. So my next question is, do you follow a certain morning routine or a daily schedule to maximize your productivity and well-being? Ridhima ma'am, what are your views on this?
Oh yeah, absolutely, I do. I I don't speak. I mean, you can assume I'm a little weird, but I don't speak to anybody for the first 3.5 hours of the day. I usually wake up by 6:30, and I usually begin my work by 9:30. In the last 1.5 months, ever since Shark Tank has come out, I mean, the routine has really gone for a toss, because I wake up at 6:30 to mails, because I only have that much of time. But usually I wake up, I meditate. Um, I usually like to be with myself. Also, the fact that I'm a little more introvert, so I like retain and gain my energy to sort of, come out of that cocoon and talk to everybody. Other than that, I do create a priority list of my day's work. I also feel that, I also go by the idea that, we overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. So I usually keep only 4 or 5 maximum tasks a day. when I started off, I was like all over the place. I would take up calls all the time, every time, um, and I would lose out on the track of what I was originally doing. But now I've sort of learned in the last 2 3 years. Now I don't take up my employees' calls or don't take up anybody's call just randomly. I'm just, if I'm in a task, I will finish the task and then sort of, So mornings usually I just align my mind to what I want to achieve in the day, irrespective of how many tasks are there. So there is one thing called the number of tasks you have, and the other thing that how much do you think you want to finish, and then you can call it as a happy day. So that sort of stuff I do in the morning.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Akanksha, ma'am, what are your
So I would say I think I would not call my morning, I'm not a morning routine person. I'm not, in fact, very productive in the morning as well. And this is something I really want to change in myself. However, in terms of work, yes, I think before starting my work, I like to list down the things that I want to do that particular day. And I live by that list through the day. So I think that has really helped me increase my productivity and ensuring. So when you put like a tick कि हो गया ये वाला काम, I think that is really productive use of the day. So just morning में 15 minutes are kind of they go into planning the day, and I think that helps using the day much better. In terms of a good exercise and health routine, I'm bad at it, and in fact working towards it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ananya, ma'am, and Anushree, ma'am.
I think Anushree and I are both morning people. So I think we're super happy in the morning. We sleep at 10. We're aunties to think of it. But I think our morning usually starts with our dog walking us. So I mean, because she's the one who keeps running and we need to go behind her, so she walks us. But I think that keeps Anushree and I a little entertained in life. I think our dog was us, biggest stress buster. I think the kind of love that she gives us is uncomparable. But I think Anushree and I begin the day because I'm telling you now, we work throughout. Yani, even at 2 o'clock, if I get an idea, I'll go and talk to her. So we're continuously working. But in the morning, I think it starts with us deciding what we want to do for the day. What are the things that were left behind yesterday that weren't done? So they need to be completed on priority. But because Anushree and I are sticklers for time, we make sure that everything is done on time and nothing really is undone. But yeah, I think that's what happens. And morning is when we focus on deliveries that go out. So we work towards that. And as the day progresses, we work on whatever content that needs to be going out and everything else in the middle. So that happens through the day. And team meetings happen after lunch so that everybody's awake. So yeah, usually you're in Ahmedabad, people just get really sleepy after having lunch. So like to wake them up, Anushree and I just have a game on. So yeah, after lunch is when we have team meetings, so everybody wakes up.
That's great, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I think this brings us to the end of this discussion. Before I wrap up, I'd like to say this to Ridhima ma'am that it's completely normal not to talk to anyone in the morning. We have that in common. So you and I form a
Okay.
friendship meal.
I
And
got my validation.
yeah, yes, and with this, we come to the end of this discussion. Thank you so much to all the panelists, Miss Ananya Maloo, Miss Anushree Maloo, Miss Akanksha Gupta, and Miss Ridhima Arora for taking out your precious time from your busy schedules. We're grateful to everyone who are involved in making this session a success. Last but not the least, a very big thank you to our audience for being throughout this session. Wishing you all a very happy Women's Day once again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you for
much.
calling us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And we hope to see you soon offline as well.
Thank you so much for celebrating us, and we're really happy to be here with you.
It's all our pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.